Okay, let's just start bouncing until the other two arrive. So going for these softness there in the groin. So you've got that tendon of the adductor muscle that comes down here. So it's really above that, that where the hollow is, but also behind it and under it. So we can't really do anything about that tendon. I mean, we can stretch it a bit, but it's always going to be tight. So we'd like that tightness just to isolate a bit. So everything around it is relaxed at least. So if we want this space here to be open and hollowed out, just feel how spread the sacrum and the hips need to be to accommodate this openness in the groin. And then alternating the hands. Then opening the legs a bit wider. All the while I'm trying to spread across the sacrum. It feels like the sacroiliac's just really expanding. And then you really feel yourself getting into the outside edges of the feet. push the big toes down. That will help that. Okay. And now let's just bring it to riding horse. Really let it settle. Feel the heels, so the tree. So rooting down through the heels. I want to feel my roots. This sense that there's like a sense of curiosity. The tail really is just reaching down the back of the leg and through the heel and into the ground. So your root is an aspect of your mind that's extending downwards and into the ground. So it's a very different way of being on the earth, because we're normally thinking in terms of a solid surface upon which I stack myself and rise up. Whereas the root is very much, something's oozing and wriggling into the ground. And now the animal, so coming off the heels. And suddenly we have this bright, charged energy. The frequency has gone up. I've become more alert and awake, largely because my balance is compromised by my lack of a root. And we're just trying to get the heels as high as possible so the foot almost feels vertical. It's difficult. And then just rocking back into the heels, but one at a time. So one goes down and I get sucked into the ground, and then the other one goes down and I get sucked into the ground. And then let's just make an exercise of that. So the root oozing out of my sacroiliac, down the back of the leg, through the heel, into the ground, and then a sense of something coming up the inside of the leg and into this point in the groin. So the figure of eight around the feet effectively. And then just get a little bit more into the energy. So we've got the weight moving now. But as I'm coming into this leg, there's a sense that this sacroiliac is opening and the energy is already oozing down. So the energy is leading the weight. Something relaxes, and then this tail can be sucked down into the ground. And then I just use that, pull myself into the legs. So now we're pulling with the legs. Something oozes down and back. So by filling one leg, it allows the other side to open up and the energy to come out. And then feel the heel of the foot you're coming into. So really try and concentrate the weight in the heel. If that is then secure, then the other one can lift up. This feeling that you've only got one heel on the ground or one active heel on the ground at any one time. So only one root effectively. Only one leg is rooted. If they're both rooted, then obviously you're just going to be a bit slow. So it's quite strange, I find, anyway, just trying to get into the heel of the weighted foot. Because sort of intuitively, we want to spread the weight evenly over the foot because it's a bit like a snowshoe. But I'm really trying to inject into the ground, so I need to be concentrated in a point, the point of my heel. And if you can, just try and delay the heel going down. So I've really got quite a bit of weight in this leg before the heel goes down, and then the other one sort of naturally just comes up. And then let's just bring it into riding horse again. So now both heels down, so planted, not just rooted, planted. This is what John didn't like about riding horse. You've just got two roots, and so it's going to make you slow. So we want to feel the mind. So we have these two minds, the tree mind, the rooted mind, the big mind, and like the animal mind, the small mind, the local mind, the mind that sees everything within its vicinity and is just really actively scurrying around. So those are the two minds that we need. And unfortunately, what's happened is, especially with the advent of the ego, which is only about 6,000 years old, apparently. So basically, those two minds, both the big tree mind and the little animal local mind, have just collapsed down into ego. into the wrong sort of interiority. We're inside ourselves, talking to ourselves. And so we don't have the big mind, we don't have the big picture. We're very difficult for modern humans to just pull out of themselves and see the bigger picture. That's the problem with the human race, really. But also, it's amazing how unobservant people are. Like even when they're just walking down the street, everything is sort of taken for granted. It's only really when they're taking a route that's unfamiliar to them that they'll actually look. And so we've lost these two minds, and they've just both collapsed down into this self-obsession, into language, basically. And with social media, it's even worse because it's like it's collapsed down into this screen. So we're just trying to expand. So part of me expands. So that's like what John used to call the guardian. It's the big you that's behind you, that's embracing you like this. This is what ward off. This is what riding horse is. I'm becoming my own guardian. And then when we come off the heels, and now let's become the animal. And now there's a sense that I'm trying to burst out of myself and just run around, scurry around, explore. Another siren. So I just want to be totally observant. Not just observant. No, I don't just see things, I'm affected by things. So when I walk past a tree, I feel the tree pulling me and talking to me. So it's just a very active, alive world that one finds oneself in when you become really observant. Even the boulders speak to you. The only things that don't speak to you are man-made things. And this is why, we live in a world now that is just totally man-made. And so it's lifeless. The objects in our environment don't speak to us anymore, in the same way that God doesn't speak to us anymore. And then heal, and just let's do a couple of rounds of this. My roots being sucked out of the sacroiliac, out of the side of the sacrum, and sucked into the ground. Like there's something in the ground that's just calling and sucking. And now let's go from leg to leg. So just doing exactly what we're doing really, but now the trampolines are bouncing out of the filling leg. So as I sink into the leg, especially if I'm working with the root, you can think of sinking onto the ground as being like the trampoline, like you're sinking into the trampoline skin and the trampoline throws you back. Let's try that style. I sink here, and as I'm sinking into the trampoline skin, I already feel the trampoline trying to return me. So as I sink into the leg, which is effectively the trampoline, is returning me. So I'm just generating the return. So energy is just movement, really. So where there's energy, there's movement. Where there's no movement, there's no energy. And so I'm never trying to become still. I'm just trying to reach a point of equilibrium. So my sinking here is balanced by the leg trying to return me. It hasn't frozen and become solid. So I feel this flow down into my root. And I feel the energy surging from the ground to balance that. And then I just, with my mind, I just choose to go with the energy that's coming up. So remember, John used to say, you can feel your root as part of you that's going into the ground, or the ground coming up into you. And they're both there all the time. It just depends where you want to put your mind. So now I'm with the sinking, the flowing into the ground. And then at that point of changing direction, my heart just comes with the levity, basically. I just come with that rising that's there already. It must be there. If I'm energetic, then I must have the up and the down together. So I'm sinking into the leg. And then I just decide to go with this rising energy that's bubbling up through me. And then just sort of really slow it down. So this would sort of really just stretching a moment. The moment is that point where you change direction from sinking down physically to rising up physically. So I'm just stretching that and just keeping the movement within it. Even though it looks like I've stopped moving, I'm still flowing down. The energy is still flowing up. And then I just let it take me. Sinking into the leg. Ooh, I just stretch this moment. Another siren. Ooh, an explosion. Such a stupid country, this. And then just bringing it to a stop, but it's not still. And now I'm just flowing down both legs, and the ground from beneath my feet is pushing me up. So again, I'm not frozen. So we need that animal mind that is totally attentive in order to maintain this sort of equilibrium. It's not something that will happen by itself. So it's the two minds. And it's like the yin and the yang, they just belong together. You can't have one without the other. So to reach this sparkly, really dynamic equilibrium, I need the animal mind, which is rushing around, making sure everything's okay. And then I can step back from that and be with the guardian, be with that big mind that's behind me and pulling up as well, behind and back and up. And then feel the space in the armpits, yeah, and the space in the groin pits and your jaw, almost like your limbs are pulling away from the torso, creating this real sense of space. Okay, now let's go back and forth. So feeling the empty legs stretching and then pulling back. And again, heels. So as I fill one heel, the other one can come up. It's exactly the same as when we went side to side. It's just a bit more dynamic when we've got one foot forwards. So when I really feel one heel, then the other one won't mind coming up. It's almost like it's like intuitive thing that we know we should only really have one route at any one time, especially if we want to move around. And then the other foot forwards. Again, I sink into this heel, and then this one can come up. And this one can come up. And I just control the descent of the heel. I delay it. And then as soon as it hits the ground, it gets sucked in, and then the other one naturally just pops up. Okay. And now just turning, but let's just go side to side a couple of times. So just feel this. So one leg is contracting, compressing, the other leg is stretching. And the one that's stretched starts contracting to pull your weight into it. So feeling the two legs, the yin and the yang, the full and the empty, they're always balanced. And then just turn with it. So as you come into the leg, turn towards it. So let the straightening leg push the hip round. Again, you can lift the back heel. And just feel the turn. You're effectively figure of eighting, and the back hand has this feeling that it's sneaking behind you. And now just turning. Just the first warm-up exercise. So it just feels very different. So effectively the two arms are doing opposite things now. So when I was doing it before, the hand with the emptying leg was going behind me. Now it's swinging up in front of me. And then let's just try this one. And feeling the figure of eight inside the foot, going around the toes and then around the heel. them a little bit wider. And now feeling these pockets in the groin, like the bottom of the figure eight, if your hand is scooping in. I'm coming around the toes of one foot, the foot with the heel up, and around the heel of the other foot. And this is effectively full and empty, yin and yang. And then a bit wider still. And now the armpits, so digging in. And then bringing the feet in again and doing it from here. And now just the head. So the bottom of the figure eight going around the jaw. Okay. And now just lifting the foot. So putting my weight, sinking my weight into the foot. So around the foot, looping. So just simple to start with. Just a simple loop around the foot. And then the big toe on the ground. And then looping. So just try and keep the heel up until you really feel yourself being pulled across, and then let the heel go down slowly, and then the other one will want to come up. So the big toe down and the bending of the leg, the lifting of the knee starts by weight being pulled into it. And then when I can't hold the heel up any longer, I just let it slowly down, and then the other one will pop up. Heel goes down, and then I get sucked down into the ground, and then the other one has to come up. And I just find it so difficult just to discipline myself to get into the heel. So pulling, this really opens up in the groin here, and then the heel hits, as soon as the heel hits the ground, I just get sucked down. Just really want to feel the openness here. So it's the knee going out almost behind myself that really rolls the thigh like this. And that will bring the energy up the instep, but it will also keep my bum in because it'll be rolling my buttock down into the leg. The legs just have to be so active. And the trouble is that supporting our weight tends to make them a bit dull. So there's always this feeling that the knee is trying to go out, not just forwards, but out and back, if anything. So here's this roll this way. So the knees rolling back, and then that will just suck my bum in, and then I'll get into the heel. Any sense of your bum sticking out, and you won't get into your root. So the bum sticking out, that's really the animal. You know, the animal just scurries around. It doesn't have a root. Not in the way that we're trying to develop. So, wow, and whole thigh is rolling. So this is trying to come up and out, but my buttock is really dropping down and melting into the heel. So that cycling exercise, you know, where we're lying down on the back, it's really good. Round and just gets drawn down. And now it's same thing, but just now lift the knee with the hands. Same feeling getting into the foot. So it's basically just making this circle. So it's strange because we're so used to doing this. So to get this sense of something coming out here, it's very much what's contained within ward off, and then just pull the knee up. Rockets landing without a siren. That's serious. Okay, now let's try the walk, but using it to put the foot down with the figure of eight in the foot. So let's just step first. So I sink into one foot and then I reach out, big toe sort of touches the ground lightly, and then I go round. I'm going around the heel like this. So it's my heel really that digs down and under first, and then my toes reach in. And then once I've completed that circuit, I can pick the other foot up. So that I need to clamp the foot on the ground. So my big toe goes down, but it's not really working yet. I go round the heel goes back, under, and then I go round the toes, and then I bring this foot up. So it's done very slowly when we're doing it like this. But if you were like running, for example, it would just happen really, really quick. So this is the stepping like a cat that we used to do, the big toe points, and then the heel goes down, and then round the toes to grab the ground, and that blocks up the back foot. So, big toe, we squeezing behind the heel goes down, then I squeeze the toes out, and then the heel and the toes come together under the ground to clamp on the ground, which allows the other foot to come up. So around the heel, around the toes, and up. So I have to just really see it with the mind and then squeeze it into that shape with your internal muscles and your determination, your spirit. Okay, so let's just finish the first riding horse again. So because we've just worked with the heels, the heels scooping back, you can really feel them now. It looks like they're heavy and big. And then just bring the heels up. And now, if anything, they feel even heavier now, but it's like they've come round. Feel the thymus ready to burst. I think it says in the classics, pluck up the back. So it's that sense here, almost like you've got a hook that's hooked into your back and pulling you up off the heels. Same time, my sacrum is just heavy. So without that, I just lose my balance. And then just rocking back one heel at a time. And then I just, so to get out of the habit of using the foot to support yourself up from the ground and just letting yourself get sucked into the ground, it's really difficult, partly because the pain in the legs is just far worse than when I'm just supporting myself. So I have to relax. It's the paradox of the legs. They need to hold us up, but they also need to relax to allow energy to flow through them. So I'm not creating pillars, columns upon which I'm perched. They really are like hoses that spray energy in both directions, up and down. And then just bringing the feet up. And again, coming into the heels and so then you get a real sense that your spine is extending down into the ground. So that's a bit like the opposite of having this back plucked up when you're on the toes. And then winding it down.